Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. This is Hitakiri Singh. We're hanging out with Apar over here, and today we're going to learn how to craft your perfect artisan weapon, very efficiently. There's certain mechanics that go behind this, so this video is going to be a little bit lengthy because there's a little bit of explaining I need to do so I can get you all the information. And in the meanwhile, during this information, we're also going to talk about some other helpful tips about how to get some decos and parts for these weapons that you really want, really efficient ways to get them as well. So yeah, just bear with me. And before I start this video, I just want to let you know what's coming up. This is a response to some questions I've had on several comments on videos on how to build these perfect weapons and so forth. There's a few other questions. There's a few revisions I want to make to some of my better build videos. I actually made them a little bit better. A response to some comments about different pieces that would increase the efficiency, and a lot of questions about moves like the foresight and the hyper armor and the iframes. So there's going to be several videos coming addressing all of those things. And just to let you know, guys, when this video comes out and you see this information, it's going to be the most efficient way you can do things. So please like, comment, subscribe. It would be awesome. My wife and I have this dream of moving to like the Northern Cascades in Canada, and if you guys could share this information on Twitter, if you deem worthy, of course, Instagram, I don't know, whatever you kids are doing with your fidget spinners and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, let me leave the career I'm in, which is kind of helpful because it, I think, makes me it's giving me a background to help explain kind of complex things pretty simply, and I think that's kind of where my strongest point is in this genre. I'd like to be an asset to the Monster Hunter community, you know. But yeah, help us move to Canada so we can quit our day jobs and I can stream and make Monster Hunter content all the time, all day, all night, because I love this game and I like playing it as much as humanly possible. So here we go. Thanks everybody. There's going to be a little invite to our squad at the end of this, so stick around for that. Lots of information to go over, and just to let you know, I'm Hitakiri Singh, so this video is going to be about a specific thing, but just, you see, there's going to be so much helpful information about other topics that are related and not necessarily related, just because it just, leads to nice little segues. And also, I'm not the most well-produced guy, and I don't do scripts or anything like that. For me, the best and most efficient way to make these videos is to kind of just get on a good roll and spit it all out, and I try to make certain segments. So if it's a little choppy, my apologies, but here we go. Let's make the perfect weapon. All right, we're here in Suja. I love this place. The reason I come here, it's very efficient to do your melding and stuff. You can also do the oil well basin if you need the Oricalcite. It's also where Apar is. Like I said, she's my favorite. Let's give her a good karate kick. Just cause, look at this 11-foot tall battle warrior. No, I would never karate kick you. You're awesome. I'd go into battle with you anytime. Anyways, we're coming here to Sujar because you have Gemma for the crafting of your weapon, and you have the melder, and this is going to be where we start because you're going to need a lot of parts, and also this is going to be really handy for decoration farming, what I'm about to tell you right now, because this is the only time, well, there's a couple times where we're going to recommend save scumming. I hate the name for it because I don't see anything wrong with it, but what we're going to do here is you can come to this melder and you can use certain items that you might have to meld either relics, parts for your weapon, and once you reach level 100, you can craft specific parts like the disc, the tube, the blade, that kind of stuff. Or once you reach level 100, you can also meld specific level 1 or 2 decorations, and you can also meld for ancient orb swords. These are your your master's touch, your attack boost 3s, crit boost 3s, the ones everybody really want and see on builds. You can craft these yourself, and you just use items. You can use these gold melding tickets that you get from the flower farm. I did that like twice, guys, and I got bored out of my mind. I haven't even used the rewards, but other stuff you can use to make some of these things. What you want to do when you're doing one for decos, maybe make enough that you can make 30, but don't actually make them, just have enough parts to make about 30. For relics, same thing. I do the longsword. I got plenty of blades. I need more tubes, so I think I'm just gonna get all tubes, because for the longsword you need 1 blade and 2 tubes, so the 2 tubes runs out quicker. See, I got 4 of these gold relics from the flower farm, so that's what I'm gonna use for that. So what I did is I saved my game, and then I backed up my save file on the cloud, so that I have a untouched version of that save. And you want to do that before you craft any of your weapons, before you craft any of the parts. You just want to have everything ready to go. You have your things that you're gonna use for your materials. You don't need a crap ton. You just need enough, and we'll explain that, you know. But anyways, what you do is you use your materials, and I'm gonna go ahead and use my relics to get some tubes, about 40. So I saved, I backed up to the cloud, right? This is going to automatically save on your hard drive. Once you hit this meld button, it's an auto save. This is why we're backing it up to the cloud, because that cloud has not induced this save that I'm doing right now. It's saved for right before this, and then I'm gonna get all my parts. I don't really care what they are, but if you're looking for a good roll on parts, or especially for your decorations, let's say I had melded 30 decorations. Let's just go ahead and meld some. I have that backup file, right? I'm looking for Master's Touch. I really want Master's Touch. I gotta have Master's Touch, you know? I'm gonna use whatever you want to. I'm just gonna use those to get 12, but let's just say I had 30 of them, you know? Go ahead and meld. It's gonna autosave again. And we're gonna see what we get. Mind's Eye 3, Expert 2, 3, 2. Anything good? Razor Sharp 3, not bad, but the Razor Sharp 3 Handicraft is the best when you want that. So nothing good. So I got nothing good here. So what I would do is back out, and then close the game, and then reinstall my save from the cloud, and then run those 30 decorations again, and then see what I get. If I didn't get what I wanted again, back out, reinstall from the cloud. You never want to, make sure once you do your first save cloud, or cloud on the save on the cloud, you don't do it again. But you just keep pulling that back before you had your materials, and you can run those same 30 decorations over and over and over again until you get what you want. That's the only time I would really recommend it. I really wouldn't recommend it for these parts for the relics. You could if you really wanted to. Let's say, I mean, if you had like, let's say 80 or 100 or 300 or whatever, then yeah, save Scum 300. Make sure you get enough paralysis attacks for your long swords, tubes, so you have enough blades, blah blah blah. Yeah, I completely understand that. And yeah, so that's basically what you can do before you start crafting anything, to make sure you have all the parts you're gonna need. Because before we start crafting, I'll show you right now, because I'm going to shortly end this clip so I don't have to do like 700 takes, but I will put the outtakes at the end of this video. People seem to like that. Okay, so when we're forging our Artian weapons for the longsword, here's all our parts. Like I said, I have plenty of these blades, tons of them, but I don't have many tubes, so that's why I just made a bunch of tubes. And we're going to explain the order that we do these things, but for now, like our ultimate weapon is going to be crafted with 3 attack parts of the same element. You're never going to really want to do the same element, and that's the next segment. I'm going to explain all the mechanics behind how these rolls work, but you just want to have a good level of attacks, because we're going to build with all these attacks, which means all your affinity pieces can be considered junk pieces, and I'll explain what that is important for. But affinity pieces you don't want to get rid of, you don't want to meld, do for sale for any other way. You're going to use them in your rolls to craft these weapons to bring up the weapon that you actually do want. So always keep your affinities, always keep your attacks, but at the end of the day, what we want is just plenty of attacks and plenty of affinities for whatever weapon we want. And I want the paralysis blade. Check it out, I only have one attack 1 for that, but that's okay. That's okay. I only need 1. I just need 1 blade, and I'm going to explain the mechanics next, and we're going to come back to this point a little bit later. I also am looking for my perfect weapon. I've yet to make it. This is just the gore weapon. I just like how it looks, so for the video I put that on. And let me show you my current weapon, and I'm going to explain my perfect weapon, and then let's talk about how we're going to actually make it. So when you reinforce your Artian weapons, you get these rolls of what everything is, you know? The weapon I'm currently using is this one right now because I built it with 3 paralysis attacks. I rolled 3 attacks, 1 affinity, and 1 sharpness. My perfect roll is 1 sharpness and all of the rest of them attack. So I'm going to use this. This is the second best weapon I can make. So this is what I'm using until I get my perfect roll. And at the end of the day, it's functioning almost the same as my perfect roll. But you know, I just want the perfect one. And in the meantime, in my search, I've gotten some other decent rolls. And it's, you know, I even had 1 sharpness and on all elements, so I just built a dragon maximum element just because I got the roll, might as well. So, you know, these are the things that we're looking to manipulate to create our perfect weapon. The top part, the production bonus, you know, up there, those are always in your control. That's going to be 1 paralysis blade attack, 2 paralysis tubes attacks, never a problem. I just need to always make sure I have that quantity of them, but I'm never going to use them until it's time for me to make my perfect weapon. I just want to bank those, store those, not actually use your parts. So that's why when a lot of questions you guys are asking, should I be using paralysis attack, paralysis this? First of all, don't use any of your paralysis attacks for anything until it's time for you to get your weapon, and I'll explain what that means later. You're going to bank those, you're going to save that, you're going to use everything else, okay? So this is what I mean by the roll we're looking for. It'd be wonderful if I get it on this video because I'm teaching it to you guys, so maybe some kind of karma kind of thing, like, okay, we'll give it to you. But I've been in search for it. I just haven't gotten it. Okay, so now that we know what we're looking for and what we want, let's describe how this works. Okay, so the moment you created your save file for Monster Hunter Wilds, the moment you did, all of the sequence of the rolls that you're going to get were determined then. You know, so let's say, for example, my perfect roll is that sharpness with all attack for my reinforcement. Well, the moment I created my save file for the longsword, it stated that that was going to come on my, let's just be friendly to me, that was going to come on my 237th roll, even though the odds for me to get that roll is like 1 in 1024. Let's just say the karma god said, oh, we'll give it to you at 237. Some people might be lucky and get it at 29. Some people might be horribly unlucky and get it 3422. It doesn't matter. The moment you started your file, the roll you're actually looking for has been predetermined. There's nothing you can do to manipulate when it comes. The only thing you can do is be ready for it when it comes. That's all you can do, and we're going to explain how to do that and be ready and to get to your perfect roll as well. But there's a couple other things you need to understand about that mechanic as well, because there is some differentiation. For example, if I am searching for the roll I want with the longsword and I eventually get it, that roll is just for the longsword. So let's say I get a sharpness attack, and I want to put it on a switch axe at the very last minute. Then when I put my switch axe there to get that roll, it's not going to work. I'm not going to get that roll. The switch axe has a different predetermined route than the longsword does. So just keep that in mind. It's different for every weapon. So whenever you want to build your longsword, you do that. Whenever you want to build your gun lance, then the same thing we're talking about now is going to apply, but you're just going to have to roll gun lance parts to make sure you get that, okay? The second thing we need to understand about this is there's 2 sets of predetermined patterns based on whether you make an elemental weapon, which is fire, you know, fire. So, you know, you have a fire element that shows up on your weapon under that element. But element is a loose term because it also applies to your status. So if you built the weapon with, you know, poison instead, you only need to build with 2 to get the element. As long as an elemental or status symbol appears on that formation of the weapon, then all of those are going to follow what I was talking about before, that same predetermined roll. I am going to be lucky and get it on my 237th, so I need to do 236 rolls with element to get to my 237th perfect roll. So that's one pattern for element, because the other way you can make these weapons is with no element, and that's when you make them with 3 separate parts. So if you make them with 3 separate parts, now look at the element on my screen, there's no element there, so that is its own predetermined route that's different from an element. So that one might get its sharpness, attack roll, not on number 237, but 142 or 2863. It could be sooner than yours or afters. I really would never, ever make an element, a weapon with no element. Some kind of element is always going to be better than none. The only benefit to this is, that if you make a weapon with no element, then you will not get an element on your roll when you're reinforcing it. So you have a higher chance of getting a sharpness, attack. So you can get the raw damage, but you're not going to get any kind of element fire. But what's really important is paralysis, guys. Paralysis, and then secondary blast or poison, because those things add significant damage windows or damage to your build, and they would always be superior to the perfect roll weapon that has, let's say you have the perfect roll weapon with no element and you get sharpness, attack, but you have a paralysis weapon like mine that has sharpness, 1 affinity, attack, but has the paralysis. It's going to give me more damage than this one would. So just never build it. Alright, I have to give credit to my boy Ikaru. He's an amazing bowman. He's on Sword and Shield right now. Look at his killer build. This is awesome. Anyways, he put it the most simply for me about this process, and there's going to be other methods that you've been watching about building multiple weapons and taking a look at what they get and then going back and remaking them and things like that. And they're just not as efficient as this, because you're just building junk weapons twice, and this is only once. And what he stated, put it so beautifully, was just save if you get a roll you don't like, and back out when you get the roll you do want. And I thought about it for a second, and I started doing it this way, and it is that simple. Like, I could end the video right now and just say, just save after you get a roll you don't want and back out. But then there's a couple things to make that clear to people, that and understand why the mechanics of that is so simple. And anyways, it's not so easy to understand if I just put it that way. So I'm going to show it in action. Okay, let's go ahead and try to build our weapon. So this is what I'm going to do. This is the most efficient way. We're going to build our Artian weapon. So go into my long swords, and there is a little bit of method to this madness. First of all, I don't need any of my affinities. They're all junk, and I want to make a elemental weapon. So, and I don't want to use my paralysis, because I only have 1 paralysis attack. Even the paralysis affinity, I don't generally recommend using those 2, because every now and then you might get a rolled weapon that you might want to use one of those affinities on because you don't have enough attacks. So just don't mess with your paralysis. If you wanted a blast weapon, then just don't mess with your blast. If you wanted a poison, then just don't mess with your poison. But anyways, all we need to do is get an element on the weapon and not use the parts that we want. So I'm going to use a fire affinity. I'm going to use this water affinity. And then I'm going to use a fire affinity tube to make sure I have junk parts and a fire built. So this is what I'm going to forge. I don't want this weapon at all. This is a junk weapon, junk parts. All I'm doing is paying to see the roll. That's how you want to look at this. You need to pay with all these junk parts and gemma and fees and stuff like that to see what your actual roll is going to be. And then when you get it, you back out and remake the weapon. But there's a process of saving as well. Let's go ahead and condense those down. Let's pay the price to see the roll. What's my roll? Oh, it's terrible. I already saw some elements. Okay. No, I don't want to equip, or you can just hit circle to back out. I got 2 sharpness and 3 elements. Okay, so we're done with that. So what we're going to do is dismantle this weapon because we don't want it. We want our oricalcite back. We get our materials back when we do this. Just make sure that you're dismantling the weapon that you just made, you know, and it's generally going to be on the bottom, but not always. All right, we got our materials back, and what we're going to do is back out and save. Why are we saving now? Well, that roll that we just got that was so terrible, well, that was determined. It was always going to be there. There's nothing I could have done to get a different roll. So all I want to do is pay to see the roll and then make sure that shit never shows up again. So that's why I'm saving. That roll is done. It's not going to happen again. Well, I don't want to say it's not going to happen again. All of these are odds of what rolls pops up, so you could get the one. But that same exact one that I just got that I hated will never happen again. Saved. Done. I never want that one again. Now, we repeat the process. Let's make an Artian. Longsword, because we want a longsword. We want paralysis, but we don't want to use the paralysis. And we want affinity. I got 11 fire attacks. Okay, I got that many attacks on a fire. Fine, I'll use it. Let's put this fire affinity, and then let's put something else I might have a crap ton of, like thunder attacks. I might not need all that. Or maybe, let's use this last thunder affinity up, you know? So this is by doing it this way instead of all fire, thunder, that kind of stuff. What you're doing is just giving your opportunity to make more weapons with these combinations instead of having them always be the same 3 ones. You just have more options available, permutations, if you will, to create more weapons with whatever stockpile you currently have. So that's why we're doing it this way. Okay, so I'm gonna make this weapon. We're going to reinforce.
Let's crack a few ancient mysteries.
We got all that oricalcite back that we used before, so you get it all back. So you just need to have some gold stockpiled. If I run out, I might have to end the clip and go get some. Probably. Alright, I saw tons of affinity on that, so that's not what I want. I got element, affinity, attack. Blah. A terrible roll, but notice it's not the one that just came up before, you know? So it's a different one, okay? But it's still not a good one. So we dismantle the weapon, get our parts back. Close. Back out. And we save after every roll we've just seen that we do not want. We're paying to see the roll. That roll's gone. Game saved. Jenna, come back. I wasn't done. Let's roll another. Longsword. Let's do so. Okay, I got a poison, 4 poison affinities. Screw that. Poison. I got another poison affinity right there. And let's mix it up with this last sleep affinity. Because I only have 1 sleep affinity and you need 2 tubes, so I would never be able to make that work, you know, so I just use that. Alright, we're gonna reinforce.
Okay, let's crack a few ancient mysteries.
And as we're reinforcing, we get 1 extra argosite, and once you have 3 argosite, you can use that to use 2 less oricalcite. So you're actually building your oricalcite up slowly, but you're getting some back. I do like that mechanic. You're not punished. You just need to have enough gold once you have a certain amount of materials, and you can roll forever with 50 oricalcite and be gaining some too. All right, what was this roll? I didn't even look. Excuse me. Still not good. Still don't want it. Dismantle.
Let's crack a few ancient mysteries.
Did I dismantle? Yes, that's a different weapon, right? Yeah, that's my horn. Okay. Just be a little slow on that. There's no rush, you know. This is all, you just don't want to fuck up, basically. But you really can't fuck up the junk rolls. So saved. I don't want that roll ever again.
Sure.
And I'm going to do one more. I think you guys get the gist of this part of what to do when you don't get your roll. So even if I don't get the perfect roll, if I get something nice, I'll stop it and show you what we're doing there. All right, let's do ice attack. Got tons of those. Water affinity I don't want. And let's just do another water affinity. So I have an element, getting rid of junk. Forge, forge, close, no. Reinforce.
Okay, let's crack a few ancient mysteries.
Reinforce. Oh, I have 3 Argosite now, so I could use those 3. So you use 2 less Oricalcite, and you bank 1 more Oricalcite when you disassemble it. I'm sorry, I geek out on stuff like this. I always got to do stuff like this. No, 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 no. I already know it's not, but I'll show it to you. Affinity, sharpness, element, blah. No, no, no. All right, I'm gonna end this clip right now, and we're gonna do a roll that we actually got something that we kind of wanted. It's probably not gonna be perfect, but we'll see what we get, and I'll show you what to do when you actually do get a roll. But let's go ahead and finish this sequence so we don't leave anything to chance there.
Fit you to a T.
Dismantled, save. There we go. And I'll be right back with a good roll. And this is the reason you might want to also make these weapons here in the oil well basin. This is our friend Rokul. He is friends with Ron. He is a combination of Goku and Hercule, for anybody that remembers those old DBZ Budokai Tenkaichi games. Great games. Anyways, this is where you're going to get more Oricalcite if you run out of that stuff, or you just need 50. Couple points I wanted to make while I was here is... your Arcveld stuff, it's the best to cash in to get these kind of things. 1,000, 180, that kind of stuff, you know. I already have plenty, so I'm not going to do it anymore, but 90, 90, 90. All these are high value parts when you want to do these meldings. And all you need is 50. Once you have 50, you can roll as many times as you want for one specific weapon. So this is where you're going to get your Oricalcite. If you've hunted a few Arcveld, you'll have plenty. And then you'll also need some money, and that's what I need right now. Need some Zenny. And the best way to get that is also with your Arcveld parts. They're just that valuable. They're the ultimate farming thing to do in this game. And I got 101 of these skills. That's 3,000, 4,500, 5,500, 6,000. These are just high value items. I don't like to get rid of my gems, but I got 100 of these. I can easily sell 50, 60 of them without having to worry about, I got all my gear, all my parts, so I don't really need these things, so just cash them in for when you do need them. And now I have 463,000 more Zenny, and that's going to be plenty to roll plenty more weapons, and that's kind of what happened from the last clip. I ran out of money, so now I got some more, and I will be back when I got a good roll. And we got a pretty decent roll. It's 1 off from being perfect. It's a sharpness. It's 3 attacks instead of 4, and 1 affinity. That 1 extra affinity is pretty cool. Also, if your first decent roll is 2 sharpness and the rest attack, that's pretty good too, because the 2 sharpness eliminates the need from having Master's Touch, so you can actually build your build with either attack 5, crit boost 3, or crit boost 5, attack 3. So 2 sharpness isn't bad either. Okay, so anyways, the parts I used to create this were junk parts. It was an attack from a poison and 2 poison affinities for the tubes. So this is what we're going to do now. We're not going to save. Make sure you don't save. What you do is you go back to your options that allow you to return to your title screen. Return without saving. Make sure you do that. Do that nice and slow. I know it's an issue for me too, because I'm really fidgety with my buttons and my D-pad sometime, but do it nice and slow. And we get back to our title screen. I have this exact same weapon with paralysis, so I'm going to build it with blast this time. Get back into our game. La la la. Meanwhile, this information was given to me by Ikaru, and it was just a discussion in our Discord about how to get these weapons. I was onto something pretty early, but I was being thrown off by the different routine for the non-elemental weapons, so it was kind of getting to me. My dog started barking again, so I'll edit out what I was just saying and just jump in right here. Okay, so we backed out of the game, we restarted it. And now what we want to do is build the weapon, because we know what the roll is. We know that roll is coming. Now we build it with your paralysis parts. But I'm just going to build it with blast. I'm just mentioning earlier in other videos, this is when you want to do your paralysis and your paralysis attack for all your pieces if you wanted that roll on a paralysis. But I already have that on a paralysis, so I'm going to do mine with blast. blast, blast, and now this is the almost perfect blast weapon I have, you know? There we go. Yay, made the weapon. This isn't the reinforcement, but we're gonna reinforce right here.
Okay, let's crack a few ancient mysteries.
I always do it slow when it's time to do it the right way, you know? Alright, reinforce. And there we go. Had this been the perfect roll, we would not have missed it, but it was a pretty damn good roll. Almost one step off from being perfect, so I put it on my blast weapon because I want to make a poison weapon, perfect ones as well. But until I have that, I made it like this. Now, there are other ways that people are going to tell you to do this, which I feel is just a bit of a waste of time. I bet you've heard of a lot of these methods of stockpiling enough parts to make 10, 20, 30, however many weapons, making all the weapons, finding out where the rolls are that that apply to you. Let's say you make 15 junk weapons, roll all 15, and then the one that you really wanted, this one came up on your 11th roll, you know? Well, then you would have to go back and remake 11 junk weapons, or excuse me, 10 junk weapons to go back and get to that 11th roll. You're making junk weapons twice, you know? This way you don't have to make junk weapons twice. You just make it once, see the roll, save, make it once, see the roll, save. Keep repeating that process until you actually get what you want, back out, make the weapon with the parts you want, and you'll have the perfect weapon you want. The only merit I see to doing that is maybe the first time when you're rolling for your Artian 8s, when you might not get something even as this good, but like I said, like 2 sharpness and all attack is pretty good, because then you don't have to run Master's Touch. So maybe you want to run maybe like 5 or 10 just to see out of those initial 5 or 10 what might be the best one to go ahead and get that early. And then after that, guys, just play the game, fight the monsters, get the stuff, and then maybe when you have enough parts to do 5 or 10 rolls, do 5 or 10 rolls, see what happens, and go from there. Just get one decent one, because the end result of the damage you're going to be doing with this one or another decent one versus the ultimate max one is not hugely significant, you know? It is nice, especially if you're going to run or just want to, like me, I just want the perfect weapon. But yeah, then you're going to do it this way. It's pretty simple, and that's about it. Let's go ahead and wrap up this video. Upcoming, we have some fun stuff, guys. I have a video that's going to thoroughly describe basically all your attack skills and what's going to actually maximize your damage, and kind of teach you guys how to build offensively yourselves. I have some responses to some other build videos, some specific pieces that were said to be better, did some testing, and I was wrong, and I will tell you why I was wrong, but I was not in the wrong in the way it was suggested, so that'll be an interesting video. And my last little fun video about the swap out build, I found a way to make that even better, adding Mushroommancer and a way to make it your complete gathering build too, so you can have one build for swapping out for mantles, one build for doing whatever else you need to do that's not hunting. It's actually quite fantastic. And other than that, I know you've heard me reference many people on my channel. Ikaru today, 123, Biggie, Asani, Thorn, Wonga, Ice, Teko, Yohane, just people all, Fallout, just so many different people, 123, Kareem, the Jackal, Skyla. These are all people from our squad, Zero Feints. In the link, there's a link to the Discord in the description below. Come join us. We're a truly global squad of over 350 people now from all over the planet. We're still looking for that geeky Antarctic scientist dude that hangs out mostly in Antarctica but loves Monster Hunter, so we can truly say that we have global recognition and credit. And we're literally from beginners to speedrunners, from people that just love to play this game for fun to people that are shooting for world record times, and some of them actually have some, especially in Iceborne. Jackal, Kareem, you guys are amazing. Anyways, come join us. This is the type of stuff we discuss that ends up becoming these videos. How to do this, how to make this easier, what damages, what do things stack, what kind of gear should I make for a swap out build. These are all discussions that originated in our group and became video topics, because these are things that we're all interested in, and not just speedrunners and beginners, but everybody that plays these games are interested in. Thanks for joining me again. I want to remind you to be good and well to each other, and shout out to the women gamers. They get a lot of flack online, and that's one of the reasons our community is the way it is. We want to be an awesome place for all gamers, where you're from and what you're like outside of the gaming world doesn't really matter. Anyways, thanks for joining me, and see ya.